So before I start, I'm going to take us back to where we started from, which is business environment. Every time you start a project, you start from the environment you're going to operate. That is your platform. You have to understand your platform. You have to understand your environment, every nitty-gritty details within your organization or industry you are operating. You don't need to be a master of it. You don't need to be expert in that area, but at least have knowledge and sufficient for you to operate as a project manager. So that way, when you have team that has skills in different areas, like nursing or other details, you have to understand what they do, how they do it, so you can be able to operate in that environment. And speaking of business environment, we are talking about the foundation aspect of the business. What's the vision, mission statement, organization strategy, planning for the organization. And now, after you understand that, you have to find a way to align to that strategic goal for that organization as a project manager. So once you're aligning into what? You're aligning into their business benefit and value. We spoke about the business value earlier. It could be financial value, adding on new customer, transitioning to new technology, or improving their services. All those are business value that create opportunity to be a project manager. So once you align to those values, and then you now wanted to see how can you influence change as a project manager, because as a project manager, I said earlier, you are a change agent because you implement value, you add value to organization, you make people better, you make organization better. So for you to influence those changes, you have to work with organization culture. And I was saying that culture cannot operate without people, and people cannot influence or run without culture, either known culture or unknown culture. So culture could be silent culture. People just do things ad hoc, just living spontaneously with no written culture. And those are the dangerous environment, because when you're living spontaneously, there with no guiding, it's like driving with no direction, and you will never get somewhere. So for you to drive culture and change, you have to think about change management. For that culture, we spoke about culture best practices earlier in the previous lesson. And then we also spoke about project governance. And we talked about governance is all the aspect of procedure, processes, documentation, template, and the organization, like coordinating all the activities that give directive, give control, give information, centralized or decentralized environment that make things fluid and run properly. Those are your governance. So something that govern your environments. Now, finally, for the business environment, we spoke about project compliance. Now, every project has to comply to specific things, which start with your scope of that project. If your project is all about 10 people, focus on that scope. Now, that does not mean that you will not welcome change if you are operating in an adaptive environment. We spoke about the methodology of adaptive and predictive environment, predictive methodology. And we also give you all the name for those two. Adaptive is also known as agile, and then predictive is also known as waterfall. So understanding your business environment now take you to now saying, oh, I have identified business needs, I have assessed it, I have a reason to start this project because it makes sense, it had value, it brings business benefit to the organization. Now we're about to do what we call start the project. Okay, any questions so far? Am I making sense so far? I'm here. People are not smiling. What's going on? Am I making sense so far?
Yeah, we're listening. Yeah, I'm paying attention. Yeah, we are.
Okay. So now understanding the environment, I'm operating within my environment now, and now I'm starting a project. So for me to start project, these are the items we're going to focus on. You identify and engage with stakeholders. Now, who can remind me who are the stakeholders? What is stakeholders?
Those who have an interest or an investment in a particular organization, they have stake in them.
Exactly. And that stake could be direct involvement, Like investor, if I put my money in the company, I'm engaged, I'm a direct stakeholder. Or if I'm a government official, like inspecting organization, making sure they're compliant, I'm indirect because I don't care if your company is successful or make profit. I just care about you complying to our laws, procedure, regulations. So those are indirect because they don't care about your company policy. They don't care. They just want to make sure you are in compliance with the common laws or statutory laws or regulatory law, whatever policy regulations. So those are the stakeholders. Now, as a project manager, for you to start, you need to start by identifying those things. So you identify your external stakeholders or internal stakeholders. And now, once you identify them, what's the next step? You have to engage them. Let them know what you are doing. I was talking about my project I was doing in Laurel as a real estate flipping. So I have to get a permit because I have a work stop order from the county. Then once I get a permit, guess what? I have to engage the county every step as I'm progressing based on my planning design I give to them. So they have to come in, inspect it, make sure it's in compliance to their codes or building codes. Now, once they ensure that everything is in compliance with the building code, the next step, they will not give me what they call final inspection. After final inspection, they will not give me certificate of occupancy, CFO, for someone now to make that place doable. So I can now sell it or live in there. Until then, according to the county, I have to be in compliance. So for me, I have to continue engaging with them because they are my indirect stakeholders. Am I making sense so far? So after you do that, I have to form a team. I have to hire people to do the because I'm not skilled with electrical work. I'm not skilled with HVAC. I'm not skilled with carpentry. I have to hire experts. So this is where you now start forming your team. Who's going to do the work? How do you find talent? How do you organize your environment? Now, once you do that, you now start building that team, building, understanding, okay, I need to understand the scope of what I need to do. This is the design. This is how we're going to do it. This is where we're going to need to do before inspector comes. These are the material we have to buy. We can't use this material. We have to use this material. So I'm building and sharing understanding to make sure we're on the same page. If I'm doing 5, you must do 5 because we agree, we have a memorandum of understanding. Now, after that, you have to determine the approach. How we're going to approach. We were already talking about project management approach. We talked about 2, adaptive and predictive earlier. It's the same thing we're going to talk about here for starting a project. If you now do all these 4 items, you can now start a project. You are actually starting a project. So now let's identify our stakeholders. So our stakeholders are what we call end users, customers, employee, organization, managers, sponsor, business partners, suppliers, contractor, government, community. Those are stakeholders. Now, stakeholders could be internal or external. Internal is within the organization, external is outside the organization. So if you look at the screen and pick which one within the internal, employee is internal, organization internal, manager is internal. Sponsor could be external or internal, it depends. All right, so that's your stakeholders. Now, once you now identify your stakeholder, you now put them in the document, what we call stakeholder register. I will show you sample. We now put them in the order, and give them the roles they apply to. So that document is called what? Stakeholder register. What document do you put all your list of your stakeholders? Can someone remind us? I'm saying I wanted to see if people are following me.
Is that OPA?
No.
I got to read it good.
Stakeholder register, I was just saying it, is the document you put the list of your stakeholders, your investors, your customers, your contractor. You put them in a list, and that document list is called stakeholder register. That's where you register their name. In that register, you now put them. put the information how you wanted to engage them. How do you engage them? Is it face to face, sending email, or virtually, or setting up communication meetings? How do you engage them and assess which role they're going to be playing across your project? Informing them, consulting with them, giving them assignments, all those things is going to be in your register. So in your identification, you get them you get them involved, you get them interest, identify area they can impact your projects. So part of it is for you to know what role your project, your stakeholders involved in, or they're going to be impacting your project. You have to go through an analysis we call stakeholder analysis. And that analysis, what are you looking for? You're looking for who are the stakeholders that have authority, which is power or influence on your projects. Who are the directors? Who are the consultants? Who are the CEO? Who are the workers? You may have some workers that have influence over our managers because they have so much experience and company lean to their opinions. So you wanted to know every individual, how do they influence the organization, and identify them and align them in the register. So now let's create a register. Let's see, I think there's a sample here. So this is how you can put in a Word document, you can put in an Excel, you can put any document, but I think I personally use Excel. You can use Excel, you put them in order and put their name, what is their title, are they internal stakeholder or external stakeholder? What is their role as a stakeholder? Do you have them as a sponsor or portfolio manager? What is the major involvement? What is their concern? What do they care? What is their concern about the project? Some of them interested in your project to be successful. Some of them only interested in the compliance aspect. You have to list their major concern, and then how do you manage the expectations at what later stage of your project you wanted to put it there as well. So now the last column is talking about how do they influence your projects? Are they the overall say that can shut down your project? They call them champion. They can shut you down. They say, stop the project. Guess what? Everything stop. Those are your champion. You wanted to keep your eyes and feed them information, feed them resources to help your project keep going. So, and look for other one that says support. Do you wanted to get all the supporter on your side at all time by giving them the information, giving them the resources to make your project keep going. And then the resistors, people that wanted to just stop things, they are just pushing back. We wanted to find out why are they pushing back. So maybe they have bad experience in the past, or someone treat them wrongfully, or a lot of people make promises they don't fulfill. So you wanted to find out why people are resisting in order to, before you can say, oh, this one is resistant, well, at least find a way to turn them from a resistor to a supporter as a project manager. So these are the benefit of stakeholder register. It keep your eyes to visualize things and to imagine and to process and say, okay, and analyze and say, oh, I need to talk to this guy more. People that are neutral in your project, how can I convert them to active, engaging? So this is the benefit of this document when you create it. So as I said, know your stakeholders and go beyond the job title. Like my job title may not tell you what I do at my workplace. You might have someone that say register nurse, but internally they are the manager, they are the director, because what they are doing based on what they do. So job title sometimes really speak about your role or what you actually do on the project. This is why you look beyond the job title and you wanted to see what this person is specifically doing that is impacting, influencing, or giving authority to a project. So another method to ensure project stakeholder are properly aligned is called stakeholder mapping. Stakeholder mapping use this, we call it quadrants. This quadrant has four boxes. First one, it said keep satisfied. The other one, manage closely. Another one, monitor, and another one said keep informed. If you look into that quadrant on the horizontal, which is the straight line, the horizontal, which is the straight line, you see there's interest from the low to high. And then on the vertical, which is this up line, you see from the low to the high, you see power. So you see power and the interest influence each other. If I have power and I also have influence, you keep me satisfied as your stakeholder. If I'm the CEO of your company, I have power. And I also have interest on your results. So you have to keep me satisfied. If I'm assistant to CEO or I'm a vice president, you manage me closely because I also have power, but I have high interest. My power is low, but I have interest also. So you can see how that thing, who do you keep informed? Who do you keep satisfied? Who do you monitor? Like, who do you monitor is the example I was showing earlier, these resistors. Let's look at this example. Like this number 4 right on the screen, resistor. You wanted to keep resistor and monitor. People that are neutral on your project, you wanted to keep monitoring them and see how ways you can convert them to supporters. So those are the things that will help you kind of assign people in the right place to help you know how do you communicate with these people. And this is going to help you enormously to be successful as a project manager. So because you know all these people, you know what they want, how they wanted it, and the role they play in your project, you know how to communicate with them. And you also know who you don't waste your time with. Because if you waste your time with keep informed side, you probably won't get your project approved or get moving forward because people that need to manage closely and keep satisfied are the one that will sign off on your project. And this is one you wanted to get them involved and after all, get everybody involved. Any question on stakeholders so far? There's another module to help you analyze stakeholders called salience model. This module, it has 3 areas. Urgency. If I'm CEO, I can influence your project by saying, can you stop that project? I need you upstairs right now to come and change something. And that will take you away from projects to another project. And that's urgency. If I'm the manager, I can ask you to stop what you're doing and come to because they have a lot of influence. And you look into urgency. Urgency also give you level of authority. They can make changes anytime, any day. Urgency. If you have, like I have stop work order from the county, they have power to stop me because it's their city, it's their county, and they want things to be in compliance. Those are urgency. Now, legitimacy is the legal aspect of it, and to demonstrate their power. So the other part is stakeholder perceptive. You wanted to know where is their position to your project, negatively or positively. And that's why I was talking about stakeholder survey or doing survey to see where people mind is. And this is where you utilize your emotional intelligence to understand people, their involvement of the organization. Now, after you identify your stakeholder, how do you get them involved? And this is where your communication plan comes in place. So who do you talk to in person? Who do you talk to over the phone? Who do you set up communication with? And those are the things you wanted to identify, face-to-face, over the phone, virtual, using platform like Team, whatever method that they are comfortable with. You use your body language. You see, I'm talking, I'm using my hand. All this, find a way to communicate all this to your stakeholder to see that they are gaining value. Now, this is like a communication method. When you push information, do we have system to push information to? And do you have a system to receive information or recover information? It's called pull. So you wanted to have these two or simultaneously. Like I'm able to record this training for later pull. You can pull it later because I'm going to put in a repository that can be pulled later. But I'm currently pushing in the information to you. And this is basically your communication method and planning. And when you identify your communication means, you have to also identify potential challenges that may come with the communication. And those challenges, you start with the internal communication. Do they have privacy? Am I saying something that is out of line? All those details you have to be aware of so you use the rightful language to communicate. Now, the model of your communication is making sure your end user can hear you. That's why I keep asking any question. Do you can see my screen, all those details. I'm making sure I'm encoding and decoding. You guys can decode the information. So these are the communication means to establish engagements. So when you're engaging your stakeholder, you wanted to keep them aware. You wanted to find out who are unaware. You list their name, who are resisting, you want to find them. You know who are your supporters, who are you on the neutral side, and find them. Once you find them, you extract this information from your stakeholder register I was demonstrating earlier. You can use that to create another template from a Excel file or Word document to create another table and identify who are unaware. What information may I give them to make them aware? Who are they resisting? What is the issue they previously have, or why are they resisting? You wanted to know why are they sitting on the fence as a neutral person to get them on this comfortable spot. So after you identify your stakeholder, you engage them, now let's form the team. So form the team, I was speaking about that now I have my permits, I need to form the team to do the work. So I need the resources. This video may not play, but I'm going to play on my phone so you all can hear. This is called Project Team Formation by Talkman. Talkman is one of the psychologists that creates a team development program. So let me see team formation. See team formation. All right, I have it here. So I'm going to play simultaneously.
1965, a psychologist Bruce Turkman observed that teams go through 5 stages: forming, smarting, norming, performing, and the journey. Turkman didn't just have a manual Bible, although that does make his model easier to remember. Understanding and supporting the team through each phase can be vital to helping it become a high-functioning team. Initially, the team is introduced. Everyone is polite, pleasant, even eager. This is the forming stage, when most team members are excited to start something new and are to know further. Then, of course, reality sets in. During the storming phase, the weight of the task at hand sinks in. The initial excitement and the need to be polite wear off. Soon enough, people start to notice and appreciate each other's strengths. This is the norming stage, when the group starts to settle into a group. Everyone is contributing and working as a cohesive unit. Eventually, the new team's members are confident and familiar enough with the project and their team that they can operate without supervision. This is the performing stage, when everyone on the team is on the same page and driving full speed ahead toward the final goal. In 1977, Tuckman added a 5th stage, a journey. Sadly, not a perfect rhyme. This phase is sometimes known as mourning because the team members have grown close and feel a loss.
Can you hear? Can you all hear?
Yes, we can.
Can you all hear
Yes.
the video?
Yes, I'm here. No. It wasn't clear to me.
Should I replay it?
We heard. I heard it.
I heard it as well.
In 1965, a psychologist named Bruce Tuckman observed that teams go through 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Tuckman didn't just have a knack for rhyming, although that does make his model.
Sorry for the technical.
Back in 1965, a psychologist named Bruce Tuckman observed that teams go through 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Tuckman didn't just have a knack for rhyming, although that does make his model easier to remember. Understanding and supporting the team through each phase can be vital to helping it become a high-functioning team. Initially, the team is introduced. Everyone is polite, pleasant, even eager. This is the forming stage, when most team members are excited to start something new and get to know the others. Then, of course, reality sets in. During the storming phase, the weight of the task at hand sinks in. The initial excitement and the need to be polite wear off. Soon enough, people start to notice and appreciate each other's strengths. This is the norming stage, when the group starts to settle into a groove. Everyone is contributing and working as a cohesive unit. Eventually, the new team's members are confident and familiar enough with the project and their team that they can operate without supervision. This is the performing stage, when everyone on the team is on the same page and driving full speed ahead toward the final goal. In 1977, Tuckman added a 5th stage, adjourning. Sadly, not a perfect rhyme. This phase is sometimes known as mourning because the team members have grown close and feel a loss now that the experience is over. The point of having a team is to work together. Understanding how teams develop and supporting that development is key to helping your team mature into the high-performing team it should be.
All right. What's you guys think about that video?
I think I can relate because in the beginning of any project, or if there's a particular assignment or the reason why you've been sent to a particular location, you want to get to know the team first, right? And understand the strength, the weaknesses, the ones that you want to work one-on-one with, and the ones that can actually help you through the journey of those projects or that assignment. And in all, you come together again and collaborate again and just talk about how things went and what we could have done better. Great job on the things we did well and how we can improve going forward. And just inspecting as you go, not much so of micromanagement, is more so of you working together to attain the same aim. So I think it's very relative personally to me.
Thank you, Ms. Abby. That's a very detailed reflection. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
I think Miss Happy covered it all, but I was just saying that, I think the basic thing about it is just teamwork. Like she already said that, like understanding the people that you are actually gonna be with, because it would not work without the team. You cannot do anything without the team. And making sure you understand the team, that is the main thing about the actual project that you want to do.
Right. Right. I remember I was introduced, my current agency I'm working for now. When I first got there, I was thinking, oh, it's the same government, it's the same department. I should be able to quickly pick up. But fortunately enough, my initial background kind of helped me. But the people I was going to work with, or I'm now working with, I have to storm across because initially everybody was giving everybody respect. We are respecting each other. I say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, hello, yes, sir, hello, ma'am, hello, sir. When we start settling, things are getting thicker, you know, we now start seeing weaknesses of each other. We start seeing strength of each other, a little familiarity start kicking in, people start getting familiar with you. And then, a little disrespect, a little over talking someone while they are talking, start kicking in. And these are the storming aspect where the Talkman was saying about, it has to normalize because now people start recognizing your skill set. They now start recognizing your talents. They now start giving you respect over the time. Then now performance is the next stage. You were saying that now people now can now perform their work and start doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because initially when they come on board, that was what I was adhering to, that when you come on board to an organization, it's not immediately you start performing, but at least you initially trying to know your environment, know the people, and that is the storming stage. And then you storm through that, you normalize the environment, and then you start performing. And that's what the video is all about. So we're moving on to so the key aspect, the concept I want us to take out is self-organizing team and servant leadership, a cross-functional team. So here, when you're building a team, when you're building a team, Abby was saying earlier that you don't want to micromanaging people. And that is the same thing about self-organizing team. When you build a hire team, hire the right skill sets, hire the right competency, the right experience, and the people that fit into that culture, fit into that what you are doing. Because you don't want someone that you bring in that'll give you a headache. I have one worker. This guy is very skilled. He can do plumbing, he can do HVAC, he can do a lot of things, but he has one problem: consistency, availability. And those things drive me nuts. Like, but the talent is there, but this guy is not self-organized. So you wanted to bring talent that align to your business goal, business-driven approach. So that way you minimize the headache you have to deal with when you are bringing people in. So when you're working in the business, you have to think about that. And then servant leadership is basically saying someone that is not micromanaging, but rather asking, how can I help you get better? How can I empower you, give you the right to make you an effective worker? Is your pay coming on time? Is it every 2 weeks? Or instead of Friday, I make sure your pay comes in on Thursday or something like that. Give servants, servicing your team rather than trying to give or manage their team. So I like to go with leadership than managing, because you give leadership, allow internal inclusiveness to overflow in organization. You want people to be inclusive in your approach. You want people opinion count. So that's like a servant leadership approach. So when you are building your team, you wanted to think about these concepts as you are building your team. Another key word here is centralized approach or distributional approach. I was saying earlier, I was using a concept called co-creating. Co-creating is like I bring team people in and say, okay, what time do you want it to start work? What time do you want it to? Do you want flexible working hour? I don't need to monitor your boy. I'll tell you what I need you to do, but I need it in certain time frame. As long as you do it within that certain time, I don't care how long it takes you to get it done. As long as you made the deadline, that's what I'm all about. That is decentralized distributing aspect. But if I centralize it, okay, everyone report to a team manager or report to a manager before you do your work. So the person can assign you job every day you come in. That's a centralized approach. So you wanted to create an environment that will Is it adaptive nature or predict, that bring the best out of people? Something that will make your environment a self-sufficient, self-reliance, and self-organized team. So for team formation, so I was talking about team formation in adaptive or predictive. Both could be similar, but however, with the adaptive nature, sometimes with the adaptive nature, you don't bring everybody here at the same time. You hire people at different stage when you get there. But in a predictive, everybody comes in, all the chips or all the idea comes in at the same time to create a plan. To say, okay, after you engineer, structural engineering finish this year, you go to the next one, you go to the next. So you bring people, all your skill set in to create those roles and establish those partnerships in the initial stage. Most of my flips or projects in real estate, I use adaptive all the time because people I have today, I may not use them tomorrow, and I go by my pace and I create things based on my availability. So that is more like adaptive to my nature of what I do. So you have to do things that work for you. And that's what basically team formation is all about. You form the team based on your need, how it will work for you, so that you won't have headache. You have people you have to be managing and giving you a headache. Another guideline I would like to talk about here is called T-shape. T-shape is basically saying, if I'm a nurse, I'm also skilled to be a physician, or I'm also skilled to be a manager or directors. So not only that I'm limited to my professionality, I'm also knowledgeable in other aspects. And that is where you wanted to bring your talent in. If I hire a developer, I want my developer to have talent in doing testing. Because after you develop what you develop, we have to assess if it works. We have to make sure it goes through auditing and everything inspected and is correct, and they're all correct. So if you bring a driver in, you have to make sure that driver still has strength to park, do the parking job, stocking job in the store. If you have engineer, you want to make sure that engineer not just limited to architecture, but also can manage the project. So that's what we call T-shape. You are not only one single point of entry or single point of failure. So if one person does not show up, you have someone that can cover. If you have a banker, you are a bank manager, you can also cover for cashier if they don't show up. Those are what we call T-shape in project management. So when you're hiring, you want people that have multiple skill sets, even though they are specialists, but at least still have skill sets in all aspects. And that's what this one is talking about. Generalists and specialists and people that have multiple skill sets. Another area while you are building your team, I see the world we are living in, especially in this country, United States of America, they are now promoting what we call bisexual, homosexual, and you will see in your application. I'm noticing now when I'm applying to job, before I only see male and female option. Now I'm seeing if you are straight, if you are uncommon, all this is diversity. Someone is smiling. This is the culture. This is adaptiveness. Our country is changing, organization is changing, world is changing. We have LBTG, you have to, they are still human beings, this is where you have to start, adapting. So when you are recruiting, let your focus not to be on, oh, are you straight? Are you are you on straight? So, encourage adaptive, diversified environment, equal opportunity for everybody, the male or female, straight or gay, everybody have equal opportunity. That is the message here. So people from all area of organization, they have different skill sets. You want people that can use their skill set, knowledge, of experience to help your organization. So when you are forming a team, another thing you wanted to do is to normalize how you're going to operate. And you can do that with team culture, establish team goals, team mission, team guidelines. Like I bring someone and I say, what time do you like to come in? Are you morning person? Are you evening person? You know, if you create environment people can adapt to and work to, the chances are they will work with you for a very long time because they feel at home. And you want to create an environment that manage certain things like conflict. If I have issue with someone within my team, how do we settle things? How do we handle those conflict? How do we share resources? If I have to share office with somebody, how do we make decision? Who, when this one is not available, who is the next person to step up? Those are the things you wanted to handle while you are forming your team. It's called norming, creating norms and culture for your organization. Like PMI have a code of ethics. It's four of them: responsibility, respect, fairness, and honest. You can implement that to your project and to your team building. And I already talk about team charter and ground rules. You create the behavior, you create how you wanted to organize your team. So here's the sample how you create a team charter. This team charter document stated who are your team, how long is this project going to last for, and what is the stages, what role, who play those roles, and what is the rules they have to comply with, how do we communicate. All those things is in your team charter. So if you get a job in a project management today, there's a site I will also recommend. Let me quickly show that site. That site has a lot of templates to help you do documentation. I think it's called project management doc. Yeah, project management doc is right here. So project management doc. This document has all the phases documentation. So it's free. You can download it here. You see, close. You see project charter, template, kickoff, business case, all these are here. If you are in the planning stage, which what we're going to address tomorrow, you can see the tools they are using, the template they are using. And if you work for organization, they already have this template, kudos to them. And if you don't have it, you have somewhere you can start and use this template and download and do your work. So team communication, how do you exchange communication? You wanted to establish those things in your ground rules. Behavioral, physical, all those details. You wanted to establish in your team building while you're building your team, because all this is going to help your team function without you being there. You wanted to put system in place, something they can put themselves in and they operate in a way that without you, teams are still running because they have culture, they have norms, they all understand it, they co-create it, they all understand the ground rules, they know how to escalate things when things is not working. Those are procedures you wanted to put in place to build an effective team. Now, there are some challenges because since COVID-19, a lot of people work from home. Like a project management, mostly my work is done from home, and there's some challenges performing your work from remote. You have to put those things in mind as you are building your team, for virtual team. Individual performance, how do you track someone? If I'm not always online, does that mean I'm not doing my work? What if I'm downloading something, I'm offline, I'm reading? Can you consider me I'm not working myself? It depends if you micromanagement, or if you effectively put things in order and you have like a ticketing system in place and say 5 items for Abraham to complete for this week. And what if I complete it on 3 weeks? 3 days before 5 weeks. Do I meet my goals? Yes. Do I meet my performance? Yes. So are you actually tracking time, or you actually tracking time and clocking, or you are actually tracking productivity? This is where you come in as a project manager to create environment that people will enjoy working with. How do you manage those things? Diversity, the language. Are we speaking English all the time? Are we speaking our native language all the time? Or are we open to other language? What tools are we using? Is it Microsoft Teams? Is it Zoom? All these things has to be clarified beforehand so people will know where to go when we are having meeting at specific timing. So running a virtual team, you have to manage that effectively with tools and manage people effectively by creating those systems in place to help them be effective. Communication tools for virtual team, like these tools I'm using, Microsoft Team, it has chats. You can do chats. You can raise your hands up if you want to have a question. You can do all kinds of stuff with this. You have a whiteboard. It has calendar. Everything you can think of for virtual team, video conference. I'm recording this now. Those are the things you wanted to determine for your virtual team communication. I decided I'm going to use Microsoft Team. I invest in it. I'm paying money for the Microsoft 365 products. And this is what I use for my business. So this is part of you building a team, building a structure for your business. So you have to decide, am I using Zoom? Am I using Team? Am I using WebEx? Whatever you decided as organization or collective as a team, you decided what you're going to use. So virtual team member and their needs, how do you share your needs, share your goal, objective, their role and expectation? For every team you put together, please do not forget to give and clarify every individual roles and responsibility. Because if you do not, you're going to have a chaos environment. If I am brought in, even my certifications, everything, I'm a project manager, but the job title you gave me is coordinator. And you clarify it to me from the beginning, I'm just coordinating, I'm not managing. I have a project manager on the ground. Make those things clear at the beginning, because to avoid conflicts. And so those are the things that help you be effective and productive for your team. Clarify your goals, roles, purpose, and expectation with your team members. Clearly, state it clearly. If I hire a plumber, I'm asking you to do plumber for two rooms, 3 rooms. If I have a nurse, you are responsible for 3 patients. Make those things clear. So you can also use it to manage their performance. Those are the things you have to establish forming your team. And that concludes that part. Now, let's build a shared understanding. Now, let's see, after I form this team, how do we make sure we share the same vision? How do we make sure we share the same direction? We also understand the same point of view we're driving as a project management office. So you start out with what we call artifacts. Artifacts is also known as documents or reference documents. Artifact for this aspect is called project charter. I think I have a sample I will show later. Another one is called vision statement. Organization have all these to kind of help you establish understanding for your team. If you are hired for a specific goal, purpose, mission, objective, and task. So you have to know what's your role are. And if I'm hired to start, I have to know what am I sharing with others? What am I negotiating? What am I uphold to? What am I accountable to? Those are the things you wanted to establish guidance on the memorandum of understanding. How do we communicate? If I'm interacting with other functional office, like if I'm in finance, I have to interact with IT, I have to interact with HR. Please, let's communicate that and make those things clear. How do we negotiate issue? Okay, how do I get people to buy into my project objectives? Those are the things you wanted to establish in your building team. So project vision statement, for every project has a clear scope of why you are establishing that scope. We spoke about business environment earlier, why you need to justify the project is reasonable or is not, why the project needs to be pursued. All that will create an overarching vision for that project that will drive the objective of that project in alignment to the organization's strategy to derive a unique result or product or services for that project. So when you do that, you create a holistic understanding. And these are the documentation to guide you to do that. I'm going to show sample. There's a statement of work. I will show how it looks. I think I have sample. I will show. In the contract, like government contract, we have something we call performance work statement, PWS. Most of government, federal government use it a lot. Federal government use performance work statement a lot. Federal government also use objective statement of work, and they also use statement of work or scope statement. So all those documents actually state what they need, how they need it, what you need to comply to as a vendor to government or to service government. So if you see this document like this, these are the government, mostly government and vendor, or let's say company and vendors. If you're a contractor, you're an independent contractor, you're consulting, or you're working with consulting company, you'll be seeing documentation like this: memorandum of understanding, service level agreement, letter of agreement, communication statement. All those documents are vital to establish your team structure. I already spoke about business case and business need, and that's when I was talking about business analysts to help you kind of document all the details for what is within the scope of the project, how the project is going to be run, what is the cost budget for the project, what is the timeline, what are the milestones, what are deliverables time, all that details, the risk assigned to the project, how you're going to communicate, what tools are you going to use, all that is about your business and the needs aligned to it. So negotiate and agree on the project success criteria. Now, there's what we call definition of done, definition of ready in adaptive projects. You will see this in another class I teach, also is called Scrum Master, and which is more deeper than this what we do. I mean, deeper in the area of agile. This class is for project managers that manage agile waterfall. So that's why I'm talking about it now. So for in an agile approach, they have what we call definition of ready and definition of done. What does it even mean? Definition of ready saying, for me to start a work, what is the information do I need to have? If I'm a real estate investor, I'm flipping property. If I'm in that, what do I need to have to start? I need money, I need capital, right? I need knowledge about real estate to find deal. I need knowledge about how to find talent and be able to do the work. And I need management skills to do all those things. Those are definition of ready. Now, how will I know it's done? Is what we call definition of done. Now, definition of done is now stating all what I will accept, because I wanted to be in compliance with the government because I have a building permit, so they won't stop my work. I wanted to be in compliance with the legal, so I make sure that what I'm selling is in compliance with the government. I wanted to be in compliance with the organization, making sure that we are making profit, we are not selling short. And those are the criteria I have to meet for me to have that says this project is successfully done. And I will accept it and I will sign off. That's the definition of done. So when you are negotiating your scope of work, you have to negotiate all these aspects called definition of done, which is accepting. What do you accept? 90%, 80%? Am I passed if I do the exam at the 75% or 80% or 99.9% standard? What's the deviation between that? So establishing all this will help you establish how do you know you are successful as a project manager at the end of the project. Am I making sense so far?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Everyone understand the vision. Help everyone understand the vision. So as a project manager, it is my duty to help all my project team member understand where we're going. I just called one of the guys that's helping me on my site. I told him multiple things I wanted to do, but I said today I wanted to clear the weed in the environment. He said, no. I said, no, this is what we wanted to do because we need to do it this way. I have to explain why I need to do it in that order. Because in his or her mind is thinking about different things. So you have to help your team understand the direction of where you're going and how you want to approach it project. And this is very vital. You have to establish it by creating guidance. It can be verbal or it can be written. And some organizations have something we call service level agreements. Service level agreements is very common with organizations that do supportive service, like Verizon or Xfinity, Comcast. They do servicing product. So they have service level agreement with their customer. I know, especially they used to say, if they make an appointment to you to come and fix something in your house, if they don't come on that appointment, they will give you credits or something like that. So that is service level agreements. If you hear something like that, that's what we call service level agreements. Or if I say, if I don't deliver this product between 2 hours, in the next 25 hours, I have to give you credit for every 1 hour, I'll give you $1 that I'm late. That is service level agreements. So when you establishing a team, an organization that wanted to make their their customer have confidence in their product, they have a service level agreement so they can give them confidence that here is how you can hold me accountable. If I tell you I can make you a project manager in 3 months, and guess what? After 3 months, you are not a project manager. The first thing I wanted to check is, do you do what I asked you to do in accordance to that? And if you do so, and I did everything I have to do on my own hand, how do I also ensure that I still give you support to continue? So that is service level agreement, and it's establishing agreement. So when you're establishing that, you build out your team structure. Project charter. What is project charter? In most of my experience, it's very rare to see a project charter, but some organizations that are very document focused actually use project charter. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of things you will see in PMI or project management professional exam are not always practiced in a real lifetime, but just because of principle and best standard, best approach, they actually do it. But project charter is a document that gives authority to project manager. Say, I hire you. So a lot of documents that hire project manager mostly don't say project charter. They might say job offer or something like that that states your job description. Or you might have a document like performance work statements or statement of objective or statement of work that say here's the project, here's the project information, and this is what they want project manager to do. That document, those documents can still serve as a project charter. Charter is the document that empower project manager to do your work as a project manager. So in that document, it has all this information. I think there's a sample here. So this is how it looks like. It has the project name, project manager name, the sponsor, email, phone number, units, estimation, cost, which is the budget, how much are you saving, project overview, project scope, tentative schedule. Those are the high level information, very high level. It's not really detailed. So in most cases, it's like a single page, high level document. So after you have a kickoff, after you have a project charter, that means you have hired a project manager for your project. The next step is what we call kickoff meeting. Project manager has to bring people in and say, I am starting this project. Today is my first day, which is that first meeting is called kickoff meeting. This is where I'm going to do introduction. I'm going to talk about the ground rules. I'm talking about the procedure. I'm talking about the deliverables, the team. I'm talking about the budget. I'm talking about a lot of things that entails within that project. And then once you do that, you have your understanding with your project. Now, let's address approach, which we already talked about a lot of the approach. A lot of it, I'm going to just run over it because it's already been discussed in the previous slides and previous lessons. So I spoke about tailor approach earlier. That means what I use in company A, I may not even use in company B, even though they are almost the same project, the same industry, but their need is different. The people I'm going to deal with is different. You have to tailor the approach. I was saying about what you use in automobile industry may not applicable to construction industry. What you use in the healthcare may not applicable into finance or IT industry. So those are the things you have to consider when you wanted to do the project. You have to find a tailored development approach to help you run your projects. This one is talking about characteristics of different approach. If you see this icon here, this icon is called predictive, which is waterfall. It's going, is waterfall. Your plan is plan driven, is step phase driven. It's not something that is not easily changeable. You can't really, you have to follow step. But the next one here is adaptive, is change driven. If I have software development, you can make changes and that because it's adaptable, it's incremental, it's following flow of continuity. Now, tailor is more now, I'm combining both together. Let's see where it's applicable. Let's see where I'm going to adjust. Let's see where I can go straight. Let's see how I can go in circle. So thinking about projects, can someone ask me, what is product? What is different between product and project? Products give birth to projects. Products could be part of a program. Let me see example. Like my own business, my product is training, like I'm doing right now, and that product is called pre-work. So I delivered professional training and help them become professional practitioner in that field. That's my product. In that product, you have projects. And that project, one of the projects I'm doing right now is training. And now another project I'm going to be doing within this training is called recruiting support, to help you get a job. So that's another project. So when you have a product within this phone, this iPhone, this is a product of Apple company. And one of their products is called iPhone. Another product they call iPad. Another product they call it Mac, Book Pro. So they have different products. So within the product, you have projects. And every product life cycle may be different from project life cycle. Products life cycle is you initiate, you create features, you add stuff to it, and you release it. And over the time, they can say this product is not going to be supported in the next couple of years, and they retire it and create another product. So this is what you wanted to keep in mind. When you have a product, you have a product owner. People that own that product is also they might be a project manager, they might also be a director of the organization or owner of the company, or they could be subject matter for that product. So when you hear the word product owner is just a title for a role you play on that product. If I know about iPhone, I can be a product owner to the development team that is developing the iPhone. So that product owner is someone that understands the value and understand the product, that can give information on how to develop the products. Any questions so far? Am I making sense? Are you guys tired?
No, you're making sense.
Okay, so for life cycle for development, you start and you deliver, right? So every cycle for a project, you wanted to visualize it. So for predictive, I was saying is a waterfall. You see, you go, water is flowing down like a water fountain. So for a predictive, you do feasibility study, you design, you build, you test it, you deploy. Unfortunately, after you deploy, for you to build again, you have to start from the beginning, feasibility. That's the disadvantage of predictive. That's why when a construction of a building is not in compliance after testing, they destroy that building. That's why you see government destroying buildings, because it's danger, because the structure, how that model is going to be done. That's why I was saying not all the method is applicable in every industry. Like if you're doing construction right now, you follow this model. If you're doing automobile, you follow this model. If you're doing aircraft, you follow this model, because a lot of industry that have to do with every safety for human being and environment or environmental factor of protection, they have to be visibility, all this design has to be predictive, because they are they call it heavy regulatory industry, heavily regulated. Like healthcare is heavily regulated. Banking is heavily, because if anything go wrong, it will impact the economy, it will impact the politics, it will impact every aspect. This is why housing business or housing authority in America is very heavily regulated, because if anything happened to the housing industry in America, the economy will collapse. I don't care anything what you say, because if you cannot pay your bill, if you cannot take care of your house, you can't go to work. You can't go to work because housing is the fundamental. So that is why certain industry that are heavily regulated follow this model. You first of all do feasibility, design, you build and test and deploy, then close, then go to if you wanted to do another one, you have to do again. Now, what does that differentiate from adaptive? Adaptive is not like that. Adaptive, I say, I might use the same waterfall, but I'm going to do it in a small scale. They call it small win. What can I give you now to make sense to you? If I'm looking for shelter, how about I give you something with a cover that when it's rain and sun, it cannot beat you. I start from there. That is adaptive. And then from there, I say, okay, after that, I can now construct bricks, and I can now design a townhome, and I can now transition it to single family. I can now transition it to mansion. That is adaptive. Adaptive is flexible. It starts small. It gives you quick win. It gives you small results, and then build over and over to that small result. iPhone, or let me say Apple, do not start from iPhone 14. They start somewhere. They started from iPhone 3, 4, and they build it upon that. And every industry do the same thing. They build over on their product to make it long-term development for their product life cycle. So that's one thing about that. They welcome feedback, because feedback gives them idea how to innovate and get improved and make their environment better or their product better. So in adaptive, they use word cadence. Cadence is like how you deliver products, deliver results. Is it one time, multiple time, productive or predictive? So like in Agile, they have what we call cadence for daily scrum. That means every day, every 15 minutes, someone is saying something about what they do yesterday, what they're going to do today, and what is the challenging they are facing. And every 2 weeks, they deliver results to their customer. So that is what we call cadence. Cadence is like a meeting or frequency of what you are delivering for your product or project activities. So adaptive environment, just like I said, you start from a vision, I have an idea, you put every idea, all your deliverable, all my product I wanted to do, I wanted to create iPhone, create a laptop, create all this. I put them in one list. That list is called product backlogs. If I have idea for iPhone, I'm talking about like an Apple company now. They have idea for Apple products like iPhone, iPad, ProBook Map, all these products. They put them in the list, and that list is called backlog. So they will now pick from backlog and say, which one will you develop first? Are we doing iPhone first? Or are we doing them simultaneously? Depend on the budget and resources, right? And then you start putting them in what we call sprint backlog. And that sprint backlog is where you have a new level of iteration. Iteration is something that is in cycle, that keep going in cycle. So you put them in that, and when you put them in there from the product backlog, you put them in another sprint backlog. It's like a list as well. But the difference within product backlog and sprint backlog is that in the sprint backlog, you have not just a list, you now have more details to that list. You now have for before on the product backlog, you just list iPhone, you list iPad, all these products. But in the user story, in the sprint backlog, you now say, okay, for iPhone that I'm going to pursue, it must have ability to have app download, the ability to make call, ability to surf internet, ability to save data, ability to record. You're now listing them more. You now do what they call itemized activities that you want to get done. And then your team is now picking information from that a backlog called user story to now start developing and working on it and deliver it to the customer. Once they deliver it to the customer will give them what? Feedback. And they take that feedback back to the story and make those changes and update it, and team will continue working on it. This is how Agile work continuously and delivering until they meet definition of done. Any sense in this diagram here for my explanation? If we do a quick survey, I'm going to skip this, make it just our time. So, project professionals uses a development method which can be predictive, iterative approach, incremental approach, or hybrid to create what? Deliverable, which is unique, verifiable product. The project passes through a series of logical relations here from the start to completion. The entire process is life cycle. The entire process from the start to the end, from the start to the end. That's what we call life cycle. What we accept at the end is called deliverables. All right. We're almost done. Hybrid is combination of two. That's where you tailor the name, which I already talked about earlier. I'm going to skip. So now let's talk about assessing complications while you are starting your projects. How do you assess complexity? You assess your complexity from the green line. I become a project manager today. You are in a green line right now because you haven't run into any complication yet. But the moment you start running into issue with the employee not coming to work, people are not giving you access to the system, you now get into the box of complicated. Now, if you do not resolve that complication, it will lead to complex. When it becomes complex, it is not in order, it goes to chaos. And when it's chaos, it's fundamentally dangerous to end the project. And that will make that project manager to be unsuccessful. So the reason for you to understand this is to understand when you are creating a requirement for your project, you wanted to make it simple as possible, using a simple language, using the simple words to try not to make it too complex, not too complicated, so it won't create chaos. So giving direction, giving guidance that are clear and simple to understand. That's the purpose of this piece. So in the same objective, how do you create an environment that is suitable to your organization? When you're creating a team, you want your team to have this cycle. How many size of your team? When you start increasing the size of your team, you are increasing the size of your, how do you make sure they are getting buy-in into your organization? How does it align to your culture? When you are talking about culture, how do people agree to how you're operating as a manager? How do you hire them? How do you give them resources? Are they trustworthy? Do you need to micromanaging them, or do you need to give them authority to do what they need to do? How does that align to your project? In the critical level, how do you make changes? This is a model called suitability filter to kind of help you see what area is influencing what area. So the same thing we'll be talking about hybrid in the middle, predictive and adaptive development approach. So this is another video I'm going to play from here. First.
In 1965, a psychologist named Bruce Tuckman observed that teams go through.
Sorry. That's not the one. Close. And this one is way of working. Okay. I think I found it. Intuitive way of working. Intuitive. Okay, I found it. All right. I'm gonna play it now.
The word iterate, it comes from the Latin iterare, meaning to repeat. Thus, an iterative way of working repeats itself over and over, optimizing itself each time it does. In an iterative process, work flows into the product backlog from minimum business increments and from the release roadmap. The product backlog is where the team collects all the work flowing to the team. The product owner prioritizes the product backlog, signaling to the team what work is the most important. At the start of each iteration, the team pulls the work they plan to do from the product's backlog into the iteration backlog. This is a key point. The team pulls the amount of work it thinks it can get done during the iteration, not the product owner, team manager, or stakeholders. The iteration is the time box around the team's work. The team starts with the iteration planning and ends with the iteration review. Agile teams usually choose between an iteration length of 1 to 4 weeks, with 2 weeks being the most common choice. Regularly, the team meets for a coordination meeting, also called a stand-up or scrum. The stand-up helps the team coordinate and work in a quick and informal way. The iteration review ends the iteration. This review has 2 parts. It reviews the product and solution built in the iteration and the process, how the team worked together, and what got in their way. In the demo, the team showcases what they accomplished in the iteration. The demo focuses on value delivered and feedback from stakeholders. In the retrospective, the team takes time away from their busy schedule to reflect on how they worked together in the iteration. What aspects made them go faster and be successful? What aspects got in their way of reaching their goals? The team looks both internally, inside the team, and externally, outside the team. The team also lays.
I'm sorry, I think this is too weeks.
When an iteration is complete, we go back and start over with the iteration planning and pulling work from product backlog into the iteration backlog during the next planning. The agile iterative process contains a series of artifacts and ceremonies. Artifacts are the objects produced within an iteration. Ceremonies are activities that take place during an iteration. For example, the product backlog is an artifact. It's the complete list of work required to create the product. It collects all the work flowing to the team. The iteration backlog is another artifact. That's the list of work to be completed in the current iteration, and it's supposed to be done in the order determined. These are activities that take place during an iteration. For example, the product backlog is an artifact. It's the complete list of work required to create the product. It collects all the work flowing to the team. The iteration backlog is another artifact. That's the list of work to be completed in the current iteration, and it's supposed to be done in the order determined by the team. There are a couple more artifacts that aren't shown on our diagram. User stories capture a description of a feature from an end user perspective. A user story describes the type of user, what they want, and why. A burn down chart is a graphic representation of how quickly the team is working through user stories. We actually touched on most of the ceremonies earlier. These include iteration planning, the coordination meeting, the iteration demonstration, or demo, and the iteration retrospective.
All right. Did anyone grab anything from that video? So that video is basically addressing agile structure, which is the adaptive I was talking about earlier. So we're going to briefly talk about Scrum, which is the method in agile to manage projects. Commonly, there is a Scrum Master who's also technically like a project manager, but they are not project manager. They just manage projects in agile structure. They follow the life cycle we call sprint cycle. I'm going to speak more. In a sprint cycle, there's different ceremony. Anywhere you see the word ceremony, it's referring to meetings. So they have sprint planning meetings, daily Scrum meetings, sprint review meetings, retros, which is what we call sprint retrospective. So sprint planning is where they do planning. Okay, what work are we planning? Do we have all the information to define these projects that we can start it? They do that in what we call user story. And that's what the video was demonstrating earlier. That in the user story, the conventional way to write user story is me as a end user, I want to do certain things with this system in order to be able to get this result. We now take that information to developer now take that information and develop that expectation into the system and now go test it. And when you test it is when you do what we call sprint review. You demonstrate what you say you want from the customer. And then the customer now say, okay, it's good to go. And then you do what we call sprint retro is where you kind of see, all right, when we did the last sprint cycle, we did one or two things wrong, but one of three things are very good. We like to encourage for the next. So it's basically giving your team opportunity to improve over time in a small scale and continuously. And those are the things that make Agile really attractive to a lot of organizations because of the ceremonies he has. Do I still have you all here? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I can.
awesome. So Agile ceremony is what I just talked about. They have planning ceremony, which is also known as meetings. It's like you're having a meeting. So those are, they call it ceremony. It's just a fancy way of saying we have a meeting. So daily stand-up, most company work Monday to Friday. So their daily stand-up is when everybody come online and not everybody technically, the team come online and say, well, yesterday I did this and I run into this problem and this is what I'm planning to do today. And that is done in what we call daily stand-up or stand-up. That usually lasts for 5 minutes. And if any stand-up is taking more than 5 minutes, the max is like 15 minutes. So in my organization, we use 15 minutes just to give the team enough time, especially when you have large team, people that entails about 5 to 7 people. That's like you have recommendation time. And every time you are doing team meeting, you have to do that team meeting in what we call time box. That means every meeting must have time. We start at 9:15, we end at 9:30. That's 15 minutes. Anytime going outside that, you are not in time box. So you have to be in compliance with that. And then we have what we call backlog refining. So when you have the list of your products in your backlogs, what we call product backlogs, and you can now go back there and start updating, okay, this one will go first, this one will go second. That's what we call you prioritizing them. Okay, put them in order of importance or put them in order of how you get your budget or approval. So that's what that approach or activity is called refining. You're refining your backlog to make sense out of it. So when development teams start doing the work, they do need work in accordance to your strategy, how you want it to be done. So the other thing is called retros. I'll talk about retros. That's where you get feedback and make improvements for lesson learning. We're almost done, guys. And that is the end of lesson 2, which I'm going to end today here. Who is available tomorrow? The class for tomorrow is I'll send the invite out. I think it's 12 noon. Right? We'll have the timetable. Okay, so
I
tomorrow
do.
class,
It's 12 to 4.
12 to 4, yeah. If you can make it, I will record it. I'll make it available. That should, and tomorrow class is gonna be lesson 3, and that lesson 3 is about planning. It's long. It's not really long, but if we follow the same method I used today, talking through it is faster than reading from the slides. You can even get more better value out of it than reading the slides, because when I speak through it, I speak through experience, I speak to reality, and then you can now apply the concept to it afterward. Any feedback? Something I can get better at myself. I want to get better. I need you guys to give me better.
You're already perfect.
I'm already what?
You're already perfect.
No comment.
I don't think there's any better.
I wanted to get better now. Come on, guys. You guys are not fair.
You're perfect. This is the best teaching ever. I like the explanation instead of just reading through, because it makes reality, it's more life experience. So it sounds much better.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone wanted to give me more feedback? Please help my head get swallowed. Let my head get swallowed. Or if you wanted to beat my head down, please go ahead. Take your shot.
I think I mentioned it earlier, Mr. T, that it was excellently done, and I feel the slides went hand in hand with what you were talking about. You brought in life experience, just like Miss Marima as indicated. You know, you made it more conversational. You made me stay on. I'm not a big fan of staying on for hours, but I even want more, you know, that type of thirst for what else does he have for me. I'm enjoying this, and I don't know. I feel like just taking the course every day. So great job, excellent execution, very flawless process, and it shows, right? There's a difference between you teaching what you don't know and you giving what you know. So you can only give what you have, and that is what you have. You got it, you got it. So you have it. So I appreciate you with this teaching, and definitely I know to the end will be amazing. At the end of the day, I know your goal is to see everyone hired or being able to gain knowledge in any perspective that everyone is trying to go, start your own business or whichever way. And I know the goals will be accomplished based on what I see here. I'm really impressed. Thank you for everything you do for people. Really appreciate your heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Someone will making me cry. Nice one, Abby. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marima. Temi Talk, any feedback from you?
Thank you so much, Mr. T.
Okay. All right, guys. Enjoy your Saturday. I'm gonna stop the recording. I'll find a way to make this recording available. Just give me time. I'll get it and make it available.